Hey, good morning everyone. It's Dave. I thought I'd start off in the front yard today because all the David Austin roses are turning out terrific this year. Look at that. That's Graham Thomas. Beautiful rose. It will get very, very big. So it is one of those roses you could really use as a climber almost, even though it is a bush variety. And look at this one back here. Almost like one of those damask roses that are super fragrant, and this is a very, very fragrant variety. Let's look at these down here. Just so many blooms and petals within these. And then I didn't catch a really good bloom of this one. This is English Garden. It's kind of burned already around the edges, but lots of blooms. And then down here, this is Abraham Darby. And once again, look at that petal count. It's got to be at least over 100 petals on these. And this is a very good spring bloomer. Other than that, the pansies are doing well out in front, but look at these icebergs. Got a huge row of them. I think there's about 11 of them in all. And you cannot beat that for a hedgerows of roses. We'll just walk down the pathway here. You can definitely tell the newer ones that I put in. And you've got to forgive the parrots. We have parrots that come through here twice a day. But those are the roses that are in the front yard. We've got to prune the ligustrum back here. I cut it way back over the winter time, and I got to shape it now a little bit. Cape honeysuckle, nandina, and I didn't really get any blooms on the wisteria tree this year, so I'm kind of bummed about that. But let's head out into the backyard. All right, here we are out in the backyard. Rose garden still in bloom. I'm going to also take you over here right now and show you the Anna apples. You can already see how they've started growing. This is a very early producing apple. Anna is great for fresh eating right off of the tree. It is horrible for storing. So the great thing about it is it's one of the first apples to produce and ripen and also flower during the winter time, but it is something that you do have to eat pretty fresh. You don't want to even let it sit really more than a couple of days. A lot of the roses are still blooming. The scaviola is blooming as well. It's Margaret Merrill. And look at that hemlock there. So pleased with how that is growing this year. Oh, and look at that scaviola. The dianthus and the Dunes Valley thyme beginning to come into a little bit of bloom there. Take a look at the dahlia that's come up, as well as the daylilies. Those are freshly planted this year. The bacopa in the back. Also a couple of the dwarf conifers from Isley Nursery. Now you will see some apples dropping. It is very common for, you get what's called a June drop on fruit, where they can lose a third of their fruit, and there should not be any problem with that. The lamb's ears are really beginning to spread out now. This is a beautiful Sonia rose there. Just got done watering super warm weekend this weekend for Mother's Day. Today is May 13th, by the way, 2023. Got a few of the new lilies coming up. Once again, the scabiole, just couldn't ask for anything better. I am surprised at how the mock orange is growing out from the base first, and just a few leaflets on the higher stems. My first time growing that. And look at this larkspur in the back. I mean, that is terrific from a 6-pack just a few weeks ago. Shasta daisies hiding back there. Banana shrub between the two cages of gladiolas. And look at the way the gladiolas have already come up. They should be in bloom in just a few more weeks. And look at those foxglove. I mean, these have done absolutely terrific. Both here and then against the building, you can see a couple as well. But really wonderful amount of height to these. I mean, this is, you know, they're shooting up 4 or 5 feet. These are the foxy variety, so they should only get to be about 3 feet. Really cool looking delphiniums there. And we've got another bloom open on Garden Party. And look at all the blooms already for a second set on that rose. I'm looking forward to sharing with you when this one blooms. This is a beautiful double pink and very, very fragrant. Should be open just before 4th of July. It's 49er. You can see it's a beautiful bicolor rose. That is a tree lily. Looking forward to that. It'll be the second bloom for that year. And I did just water, so everything's a little bit wet. Once again, Chrysler Imperial. Caprasma, or mirror plant. It's a good looking hollyhock. Normally hollyhocks get eaten up. All sorts of pests and diseases here in Southern California, so I'm trying to keep them at bay. Look at that bloom on the catmint. And still, I keep being amazed at this antique viola, which is just blooming and blooming and blooming. And then we have that cherry tree. Pan over here for the apricot. And also look at how well those violas have been in bloom. A few more foxglove. This variety of rose is called Heaven. And I did, I'm gonna have to come over here, see sterling silver. Very old-fashioned variety from the 1950s. For the longest time, it was the best lavender rose. Still probably is to a certain extent, very fragrant. Although I haven't seen it, it is subject to some mildew. Anaheim pepper. Look at that bloom for the peony. That is mimulus or monkey flower in the container back there. And behind that, some lemon verbena. I did prune back at least the first of the ligustrum last week. A whole bunch more to go. And the dogwood looks like it is really just thriving in this spot. Now last week, you noticed that the tree was gone. I have a new tree back here for this area. Not quite sure where to plant it, whether more forward or back. Obviously can't go right in the same spot as the previous tree because the stump is still there. But this is Chionanthus. I'm not sure if I can even show the blooms too well on it. You can see a little bit there at the tips. But this is called Chinese fringe tree. It's a really excellent smaller tree, 15 to 20 feet height. And there's my Japanese maple, giving some shade to the clivia because the clivia is shocked that the liquid amber is gone. So I just needed to provide a little bit of shade for that. Oh look, the cat is missing a lizard as it just jumps back into there. The bee balm, that's one of my favorite flowers. Should be in bloom in a couple weeks. This is Gara. Another carnation back here. I broke down this week and I got a beautiful dwarf lilac, Monrovia Nursery, and super fragrant. Had to roll down the windows, taking that one home. And look at this. This is a variegated Jacob's ladder that I had bought and planted. And I quite honestly didn't know if that was gonna grow well here or not, but it's already taken off. So stoked about that. And look at all those blooms on the Alstroemeria. I probably have mentioned it before, but it reminds me of the Panther Martin fishing lures that you use for trout. Another Japanese maple, variety of sword fern. Looks like we've got some bloom stalks coming up on the daylily. A few blooms left on the lavender trumpet vine before I cut it all back. And over here, once again, you can see the Mandevilla in bloom. And our magnolia or tulip tree right there. All right, that is the end of the garden tour for this week. Oh. False heather, Kufea, full bloom. And that is the end of the garden tour for this week. I'll see you all next week with another video. And of course, what would a video be without Bo? She sends her best wishes for the week.